will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Let's get some picture going. Boom, Miss Rusty. What's up, everybody? It is Thursday here on the Public Access Podcast, the podcast now, the podcast. Podcast if you're coming in to hear. And we are going. And I got thrown off for a second. It was, I don't know, I must have caught something. And so, yeah, we're here today and we're on the Rusty Diamond Podcasting Network, now on Podbean. So I'm going to bring on my special guest. And my special guest, I was on his podcast last week. So you can go back and check that. I'll put that in the link. And right now, right here, right now, we have Randy Chaffee. How you doing, Randy?
Boom. Hey, I'm doing well,
Boom.
brother. How about you, man?
Good. Yeah, it's good to have you here. I was happy I got to do your podcast, and I thought about I should have had your mixing man, the
big bald guy?
Well, that guy. Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah. I should have had him come on too on this, but I don't know if he's into podcasts. Guesting. Maybe I'll get him on next time. I thought
get
about
him on sometime
together, but then I was like, yeah, maybe I'll do them both separately.
He enjoys being referred to as a big bald guy because he's big and he's bald, so it's easy to remember for me.
And a guy.
So I see it's 3 for 3. I can't screw that up almost.
Right, almost. You never know. Oh. Sometimes you can screw up.
Given me enough rope, Rusty, I could screw up anything. If I talk long enough, I'm sooner or later I'm going to mess it up. I can guarantee you.
Well, it's good. So this is a long podcast today, so we'll make sure that we'll get to that point, and then we'll stop right before then.
Just in time. There you go.
Yeah, we're getting there. Okay, we'll stop, and then
perfect.
Yeah, we'll be good. So where did you come into the podcasting world? What was it? I kind of like asking other podcasters that, not like, what was it that got you to do a podcast? Were you sometime someone's like, oh, you got to listen to a podcast, and you're like, oh man, those things are, what's a podcast? Who's, this is stupid. Like, who's gonna watch that or listening to that? Or was it something that you immediately were kind of gravitating to?
Well, no, it's funny, Rusty. It's really interesting to me how it happened. If I go back 3 years ago, I would have never dreamed of doing podcasting. I only semi knew what it was. I mean, I knew, but it wasn't really something. I was a book reader, and I still am a book reader. I got piles of books behind me over here. But when I'm a sales guy by nature, I'm a rep agency. We rep manufacturers. I've built my career, helping develop business, and I've always been the old school road warrior kind of guy, right? Travel the roads, rental cars and airports and pizza pie lunches and brewskis and beers in the evening, bro hugging and kissing babies, and that whole thing. And that's where I built my career. And then the whole COVID lockdown world hit, and all of a sudden I went from on the road. Let me back up. When I first stayed home and didn't leave for a while, quite a while, I'd been 11 out of 12 weeks on the road. And so that's what I did. And that's all I knew. And so after enjoying a week or two of not traveling, which was kind of nice, when I started realizing that this may be a way lot longer, good English, than what we originally told, right? And I needed a way to be in front of my people, because that's what I do. I'm a relationship trust builder. That's what I do. So I was involved with a couple mastermind groups, or a mastermind group, that we started doing a lot of video texting back and forth every day. We'd go live on the group every day. And I started doing some guesting first, Rusty. And I'll be honest, the first time or two scared the hell out of me. Like, I don't have, what do I have to say? And, the typical everything. Am I going to look stupid? Am I going to sound stupid? Why would anybody want to listen to this goofball? All the stuff that goes through your head, right? And but I did a guest appearance or two, and I go, that wasn't all that bad. I kind of like doing that. I talk to people. I'm just talking to them on camera instead of, and at that point in time, we'd been doing a lot more Zoom meetings and team meetings and Google Meets and all that. So fast forwarding, I thought, maybe this is an opportunity for me to be in front of my industry on a regular basis when I can't be there in person. And so I remember the big bald guy we talked about, Wes, my producer, director, buddy, pal, occasional bodyguard. And as we talked when you were on, Food Stealer, which I'll never not say, because I do forgive him. As we talk, I forgive him when he steals food. It's the Cabernet. If there's a little Cabernet left in a bottle, I'll break hands, bust noses. Oh yeah, you can steal guys' food, steal his puppy, don't steal his Cabernet, right? That's just right. I mean, that should go without saying. I think our mutual friend Rex Sykes, who introduced us, would agree with us on that one. Do not steal a man's Cabernet. Yes.
I just had Rex back on.
I noticed. I seen that a day or two ago.
That's the last episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
great guy.
Which has been like 8 days ago, I think, which is the longest I've had without doing a podcast. I did another podcast and went on like your podcast, but not doing this podcast has been 8 days. It's been
8 days. Wow. All time you get back to work, buddy. Good thing you get. So, I mean, a little lax there, but that's all right.
I need to get back to work.
There you go. But anyways, to answer your question, is I started doing them, and I determined originally I was going to go just to my industry, right? The building wins live. I'm in the building materials world. I believe in building wins, right? All wins count, small, medium, large. Any kind of wins count, right? Whether it's sales wins in my world, whether it's personal wins, health and fitness wins, spiritual wins, whatever kind of wins, you throw them on a virtual win pile, right? And they all compound with each other. And so I started doing that. And the funny thing is I enjoyed it. And then I really enjoyed it. And then I go, okay, I think I'm a podcaster now. I think I'm hooked. And now I actually had to, as we got back on the road, being able to travel, I had to adjust my scheduling to doing what Wes and I call rack and stacks, where we'll record 2 or 3 in a day. So we'll set up a schedule. We'll get set up. We'll have guests come in 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4, even though that's a little many for me.
Yeah.
3's enough. We did one once with 4 or 5, I think 5. And it turned out fine. So I guess I was a little better at being a host than I thought I was, because I thought it really sucked, because I felt like I had no energy left. I felt like I was not fair to my guest, because by the time he came on, I really would have preferred he canceled, right? Because it was like, I'm tired now. I'm tired of talking to somebody new. The stuff we all do as a host, right? So, but the funny thing happened is about halfway into, I think, a year and a half into doing these, I started seeing two things out there happening in my world. There was the old in the sales in the world of sales. One was the old school guys, which I was, that we're not doing any of this virtual garbage and any of this podcasting stuff and videos and all that. That's just hocus pocus, ridiculous garbage, right? I'll just wait till we go back to the old way. And I felt they were wrong. But then we had this new school of thought that nobody's ever going to get on an airplane in New York City and LaGuardia and fly to Dallas for a meeting ever again. Everything is going to be virtual. There's going to be no more in person. And I really thought they were wrong, because in the world of sales, and especially in B2B world that I'm involved with, it's still P2P, right? It's still people to people.
Right.
If you're the buyer and I'm the seller, regardless of our titles, we have that position together of you want to buy something and I want to sell something, help you buy what you need. It has to come down to you trusting me and I trusting you, and we develop a relationship, right? You still need that person to person. We need to go have the pizza and beer, right? We need to go bro hug them when I walk in the office. We need to become friends and trusted each other, right? And so I developed and I developed a hashtag for it. I go a lot, almost everything I do with the hashtag hybrid Road Warrior Randy, because I used to be just the Road Warrior Randy. And I hybrided it because I found there's a lot of good stuff with the old, right? The bro hugging and all the stuff we just talked about. But there's also great things that we can be accomplished. Like we'll be on here for around 45, 50 minutes, whatever we do. Literally, I was on 4 other, not shows, but Zoom meetings today, walking around on the phone, doing text, doing emails. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be traveling a lot again, back on the road in the airport. So you bounce in, you bounce out. So you can accomplish a lot using virtual.
Yeah.
So I found out, Rusty, that by augmenting each other, right? When I'm not out doing old school, I can still be here with you. And anybody that follows me, and especially in my customer base of either customers or prospective customers, if they follow me, they're going to see Randy anywhere from a slow day of 5 or 6 times to some days when I get hyper crazed and bored, it could be 10, 12 times, right? And they're going to get personal stuff. They're going to get business stuff. They're going to get philosophical, motivational, inspirational, being disciplined stuff. And so when I show up, if we've never met in person, Rusty, you and I will know each other because we've been on each other's shows now. You follow me on social media. I follow you. When I walk up to the door, it's like, oh, I know you. You're Randy. I know everything about you, right? That is the beauty of all that in about 15-minute nutshell there that you didn't ask for. But you can tell that's the problem with talking to another host, right? We don't ever know when to shut up when we get a chance to guess.
That's what I like. That's what the good part is, because then that means I can just sit here and be like, oh, okay, I have someone telling all this stuff that everyone needs to hear without me having to do anything. I just have to sit here and, look pretty without looking pretty. But
exactly, it's very nice. I've had times before I've almost sent Wes. We use StreamYard and sent him a private chat when I've had a really good guest like you that's able to talk and bring some value. It's almost like I said, "Hey Wes, I need to go to the bathroom. Take me off the screen for a minute, right? And just come back, and somebody like you to just still be going, and and if you follow people like you and I do, you can jump back into that conversation pretty quickly, right? So, but anyway, so that's how I got started, and I know that as I think about it, it's something I probably always wanted to do because I used to set with DJs. When I was in high school, in a local radio station, and I loved the whole concept of they're sitting there spinning vinyl at the time because I'm old, and so they'd throw the vinyl on, and then we'd chat, and I'd love it. He'd go. I remember Charlie Tuna. And that was his stage name or his radio name, and I actually knew him personally outside of that, and it wasn't Charlie Tuna, by the way. Yeah, but I know it would have been cool, but it was Sammy Sailfish, but not Just kidding. That would have been cool. But
That would.
I was sitting there, and I just loved it, Rusty, because I love that back room part of that broadcasting thing. He would be something like this, and he'd go, once, then you go, this is WFMK, this is Charlie, and he'd go into his radio thing, boom, 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 and we're going to play the top, boom, hit the button, and okay, then you'd be back talking, right? And it was like,
Right.
I just love that. So never did anything with it, but it was when I started getting into a little bit of this podcasting, I go, now I am sort of a DJ kind of sort of in a way, a little bit, right? I'm just spinning a more talk showish, but still. So it's really a dream come true. And it's really allowed me to expand my reach with people every day. And, like for example, us being on together, our demographics are probably quite a ways apart, right? Generally speaking. But with that said, you're always an opportunity. And we've all used this term before. For anybody that's interested in podcasting or any kind of any kind of social media, is you want to borrow people's audience, right? I mean, it's
absolutely
exactly, because I've had guys ask me, why do you talk to certain people you talk to that have nothing to do with what you do? Well, number one, because they're interesting.
Yep.
And they bring value, because if you're building wins all the time, it doesn't matter what that win is, right? But all I need is one person that follows, that happens to catch one of my shows, and he's got 10,000 followers, and 7 or 8 of those people might have some sort of interest in what I do. That's a big win.
That's a real big win.
That's a big win. And you never know where they are. You never know who they are. And so, I would love your take. It's your show, but I'd love your take on this. It's got to be consistency with what we're doing. You just come out and you do it every day. You can't expect that I'm going to do a podcast today, I'm coming up with one first of the year I'm going to do, which is going to be very industry based only, in addition to what Wes and I do together. Yep. And that'll be a little different, almost infomercial-ish, maybe, if you will, a little bit, but that's different. But I think that I think that if you, when I'm out there and I talk about people that aren't in an area that I serve in my industry, you build some credibility, because any given day I might do a shout out with 40 different people in my industry that I see a post that they do, a beautiful roof that they did, whatever the case may be. Some of these people I know, but they're not like somebody I'm ever going to quote sell, because they're not even in my part of geographically that I would travel. But they have people that know people that will be in my world, number one, right? Number two, if I want to develop I've got 4+ decades in this crazy industry, so I've kind of been around forever. But if I want to continue building that reputation, right, of being somebody that's involved and knows the industry, what better deal is there than if you see 7 posts in the next 3 or 4 hours, and I'm talking about this guy in Colorado, and then this guy in Montana, and this guy in Alaska, and this guy in Florida, and this guy in Texas. And it's like the image that gets developed, which is true because I do know them, but I'm allowing people to go, this Randy guy maybe I need to know him, because is there like literally anybody he doesn't know, right? And now, and it's not fake, because I do know them, some better than others. So I think there's real value in doing what we do, both just because it's fun, but I think if we bring good guests, we're bringing a value to people, and that's what I enjoy. Many of the guests that I've had on, most people in my world, my little sphere, if you will, would probably not find Rusty Diamond on their own. Most in my sphere would not find Rex Sykes, my good friend Ben Gay III. I mean, we could go on and on. I had Dave Sanderson on a few weeks ago, the guy that became really famous as the last guy off of Sully's plane that went in the Hudson, wrote books about it.
Yeah.
My only point of all that is I feel blessed to be able to bring, let me back up. I feel blessed that I've been able to meet people that meet people that meet people. I've met you. We've met each other because of Rex, right?
Right.
I met. I don't know how you met Rex, but I met Rex through somebody. I didn't just show up in Wisconsin. I think is where he lives, and just go, "Hey Rex, how are you?" Right? But
Right.
so that whole networking thing is beautiful, and you bring so many people, and I just feel happy and blessed, I guess is the word, that I can bring people that I have an opportunity to meet to my audience, my followers that might never meet these people on their own. Not because that's not a knock on them. They just run in a circle that's different. And some of them they may not meet. And that's fun too. So that was a 20-minute
Right.
version of why I do what I do.
It's perfect. And I mean, just the different people that come out of this. Like, I think I met Rex in, I think it was in a Facebook podcasting group, uh, booking group or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe I put out a post saying, "Hey, I have this podcast. Come be on it." One of those. And I think that's where I met him. I could be wrong. It could have been at casino night over on the riverboat, but I don't know what one of those two. But there's just been a lot of people that I met a lot of people through that even, and that's kind of a cool one. Just going through there. I mean, there's 90, at least 95% have been pretty good, and like I can tell who I want to have on the show. Like, it's a specific kind of person, and I've had people who, can't or don't talk much or something,
Mm-hmm.
or like if it's a podcast like this, and I don't write down questions. I
Right.
have never tried that on a podcast.
Yeah.
And
I did that when I started Rusty because I didn't
yeah,
know what I was doing. So
right. Who does?
if you'd have seen, I took a couple pictures of them, like getting ready for the show, right? The
Right.
lights and stuff. And I had like all these notes, right? Because I was afraid I was going to forget stuff. The only thing that I might write down now, and I didn't with you because we've got to know each other and you were just on my show. If I can't remember that far, then I got a real problem. But if it's a guest that maybe I don't really know, and so I might make sure I get their spelling of their name, and I might phonicize it right out so that I
Yep.
say it right, and I might put like executive VP of marketing or whatever, just so that I don't forget. I might tape that up someplace. But I've had, and I will if you really ask for them. But I've had some hosts before that want to know if I guest on their show, which is almost always yes, because I just enjoy it. But would you like me to send you some questions? And I said, not really.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to, you can. If you're going to come off with something super obscure that I got to go research, that would be cool. But
Yeah.
but most people, if we're just an open conversation, I'm a little bit older. I've been around a long time. I can talk for a while. If it's anything to do with sales, marketing, visibility, my ideas on social and virtual and these things, if it's stuff I talk about every day and I can't talk to you for 30, 45 minutes, then I'm the wrong guy to be on anyway. Right? I
Yeah.
don't need those. And I hate that whole idea of, and some people like it. And I've done them and I'll do them again. If somebody calls tomorrow and wants me on, I'll do it. If you want to do a question, a Q&A, I'll do it. But I don't like the flow of, okay, that's great, Rusty. So but number 8, right?
Right.
I don't like that. I like, what I love about podcasting is it's conversation, and that's the way I write. When I'm write articles for some trade magazines, I just got a blog I just turned into to somebody. I'm writing a book. I think I told you everything I do is very conversational. I'm not writing a Moby Dick classic. Okay, so whatever it is, you're going to get Randy, the Ray Randy talks. Now I may stick it into Grammarly or something and clean it up a little bit so it's not quite so many Randyisms, right? Because you may not understand what the hell I just said if I was left it to myself. My farm country mid Michigan hillbilly growing up world, you may not know what did you just say? So I try to clean it up a little bit,
Oh,
but never will you catch me anywhere. If I do talks at some trade shows and stuff, if I say ain't, I'm gonna say ain't. Right? I mean, I
right.
don't do this. I mean, I'm a sport coat guy at certain events. I like that feel, that look, but you're not going to get that buttoned up 3-piece suit, Rhodes Scholar stuff, because first place, I can't even spell Rhodes. I think it's got an H in it, but I'd probably spell ROADS. So there you go.
Be the way to do it. Why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
you
It
know,
seems it's all the same. You
it
know what
also
if you know what it is, then it gets the same point across, no matter how it's spelled.
it does, it does. But it's funny you brought up something a minute ago. That was really funny. Is we've all, if you host shows long enough, you always get those, and you're blessed with every guest you have. I would never say anything bad ever, but it's funny. We talked about how you know you like somebody like ourselves. We can have each other on and just basically be quiet for a while, and they got stuff.
Right.
I first started knowing that I needed to make a couple notes, a couple questions. I'm going to retract what I said because I just realized that I've done it occasionally. Is you get somebody that's not experienced at all, or they're just not gregarious, particularly, I guess might be the word. And so I've done these. So, Rusty, tell me about how you got started. Well, Dad started in 1963, and then we bought it in 1992. Oh, you're done. You're right. It's like crap, right? Because I think that's an open enough question. I'm going to get about 7 minutes of. So Dad started it,
Yeah.
and then Grandpa. You think you're going to get something, right? And
Right.
and so I realized there's most people, because you had asked me about when you was going to be on my podcast a week or so ago, that do we need to, I said, if you want to chat prior to, we can. And I loved your answer. Not unless you want to, we don't need to. Love that answer.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make it available if you wanted to, right?
I
But
appreciate that.
I've had some where I said, oh, from a host standpoint, we're going to chat before, because I've got to figure out if I've got to do a little more research than I normally would to have 5 or 6 questions. If case we get to that staring at each other thing, it's always handy to be able to just look up above the screen here and have a question in bold, right? That's kind of generic enough that
Right.
it looks like it was planned, because I did not enjoy that one time where and when you do these sort of things, 7 seconds seems like about 4.5 days, right? And you're staring at the screen going, what am I going to ask? What am I going to ask? What am I going to ask? Crap. I don't have nothing, right? And
Yeah. I'm okay with coming up with questions, but when they're coming, I need to have them that fast. It doesn't always.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not the same quality of questions, and it's not my brain's not in the same path it would be to organically come up with these questions. It got me on the very more superficial side of
mm-hmm,
questions. I'm not in that deeper question
exactly.
content, and it's kind of frustrating, but something, yeah, you sometimes happens, and
Yeah, part of the deal. Part of
part
the
of the
deal.
deal.
It
And
is. And
those episodes aren't as long.
no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. I know there's some that you've, I'm sure, experienced it where you're going, okay, and we're really way beyond my promised sort of quasi timeline I gave you. So we probably should start. You watch the little timer. We should probably start winding this down. And then I've had other ones where, you've probably been there. I'm saying, well, we usually go about 30 minutes ish, right? I'm
Yeah.
like 17 minutes in, and I'm going, I got to stretch this to 20 at least, right? Just to not appear
Right.
too unofficial, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
I'm running out of stuff. It's like,
Yeah. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to say. I
right,
can say stuff, and like, I don't know, because if I'm the host and I'm talking more than the guest, I don't want that. I
right.
never want that to be the
Nor do
case.
I. Exactly,
There's
exactly.
plenty. If you want to hear my voice anywhere, there's plenty of place to hear it. It doesn't need to be on
Right.
my platform. That's where I can go and you know get to, yeah, because like it's a very wide variety of people that go into like podcasting. Yeah, like you're saying, it's a big, weird conglomerate
Oh my.
of everything, of people and people type
Oh,
products.
absolutely.
And I don't I don't know. I'm happy for it. Like I remember when I was like, okay, what is this podcast like? And I was into it when I figured it out. When I was like,
Hmm.
okay, this will work. But it's I don't yeah. I mean anyone can be on a podcast. You can ask it's so easy to ask people now to be on
Hmm.
a podcast. I mean, like you were saying, you had the guy who was the last survivor of the Huts where the on the Hudson River
Yeah,
where the
right, right.
plane crashed. Um, I guess whatever you would call that.
Was a crash. Right,
A crash. Okay,
right.
and
But
I mean, you just can reach out to him, and it's
exactly.
not like a thing. It's just here.
Well, exactly. You know, the funny thing with that, again, networking, so important, right? As I know a really, really, really good friend of mine that knows a lot of people, and I knew that he knew Dave quite well. So I reached out to him, hey, I would love if you'd introduce me. He goes, absolutely. So he introduces us, and then we start the back and forth for a while because I'm not one that you also got to you don't want to look self-serving, and I don't want to be self-serving. Yeah, I wanted to know Dave, and I've got to know him now, and we're going to chat again in a couple of weeks just to chat. You know, I wanted to have a relationship with him and become a friend, not just I did not want, and I certainly didn't want it to appear like. So I got introduced, and so nice to meet you, and thank you. And by the way, you want to be on my podcast because that sounds wrong all the way around. That's not what it was for. Eventually, would I think you'd be a great guest? Of course, but when the timing seemed right, Rusty, you know, actually, I had a couple people. How that's just so out of the realm of what you do. How did you meet him? Number one, and how did you get him to come on? I said, you're in sales, dude. It's the simplest, most important three-letter word in the alphabet. Ask. It's like real simple. Hey, blank. I do this little podcast and we have a lot of fun. It's pretty open and fun and cheery and talkable. And God, I think it'd be great if you jump on and be interested. And 98% of the time, oh yeah, that'd be great. Right?
Right.
Because what's the worst case? No,
Or they don't respond.
or they don't respond at all. And either of those is no different than you were in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
So
I
it's not that hard.
I had someone tell me that they don't want to do anything in public anymore, and I was like, "Thank you for responding to me. That's cool as hell. Like,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Like, if you don't want, I totally understand. Like, that's cool. But
Yes.
like, you just just ask, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
It's kind of like along that same Wayne Gretzky thing, right? It's along that same thing. You never miss a shot he didn't take, right? So just
right.
keep taking shots on goal. Michael Jordan missed more shots than he ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on and on and on and on with those, sports analogies or anything all you want. Um, uh, it's one of my favorites with that is, you know, you think about a ball player, let's say a football player, let's say he's an NFL star now. And if you go from all his little junior high or pee wee league, whatever, then high school, and then college, and then the professional level, if you took the total number of minutes that he was actually participating in a play, it's like astronomical difference compared to the amount of effort and time that he spent working out, doing proper training, practice and practice and practice and practice. Right? It's like like a million to one. Right? It's
Right.
like he spent like no time in his whole career statistically actually playing the game of football. Right?
Right.
So you're doing all those things for that moment. Right? And I think that's the same thing we do if we take that into all aspects of our life. It's all about practicing, preparing, being there, being ready. And I think that serves us well regardless of what we do, right?
Right. And I mean, so did you have like, if you're reaching out to someone, so are you ever do any where you're just, oh, hey, my name is Randy and I have a show, like I want you to be on it? Or is it usually like a few conversations down? Or is there ever a time where you're just like, hey,
You
this
know,
is what I do?
I would say both, but weighted very heavily to developing a little relationship first. It may not be long because, you know, I also don't like fake stuff. And it's like, I talk to you, I respond to you on LinkedIn, or you respond to me, hey, how you doing? I'm good, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean we're like best buddies for 20 years and we need to go out to dinner and a glass of wine and be on my show, right? But 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 I also, you can understand if you pay attention to somebody and you look at their profiles and you dig in a little bit, whether any of the platforms they're on, you can grasp real quickly, most times, are these people that are likely willing and want to do these sort of things because they're doing them all the time, right? So
Yes.
somebody like that, I might go, hey, I know you're out there. I enjoy what you do. I enjoy your work. I, you know, and you know, I'd love to have you come on if you'd be interested. I may come out of the gates pretty quickly on certain people. Others, I feel like maybe let's. I don't want to have somebody just to have somebody. So if if I'm not sure yet, I would like to get to know you, because it's also, I think it's like in interviews and sales. It's always two-way street. It should be. If as a sales guy, I'm still interviewing you to see if you're the right fit as a customer, because maybe this doesn't work,
Yep.
right?
And what are they there for?
Right. So I understand that if I'm talking to you as a host of a podcast, I'm kind of hoping and wanting to see if I can sell you right on the idea coming on. But I owe it to myself and my audience to make sure you make sense. I mean, if I just, what you have to say is the most ridiculous nothing, and I have zero interest. I don't think my audience will have any interest. I'm doing everybody, including myself and you, a disservice, right? I mean, let's just not do that. Um, because I found I can talk about a lot of subjects because I've been around forever and I'm comfortable and I enjoy different subjects. But also, I feel like I need to have a little vested interest in the person or the subject, or it's going to be I'm going to be pretty poor as a host, because I'm going to be doing okay, we've done 7 minutes. Can we do this in 10 and get out of here? Right.
Right.
I don't want to do that. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's, if I've talked to a couple people in the past that I never got around to really asking if they wanted to be on, because I could just, nothing personal. I just didn't feel any desire to sit and talk for 30 minutes. You know, I'll like your
Yeah.
post here or there. You can like my post. Hey, how you doing? Merry Christmas. You know, but I just had no real interest in, and I look at it as not the same, but would I sit down and spend 30, 40 minutes at the local pub over a chili and a Cabernet and want to chat with you about anything? If I do, then let's do it here. If
Yeah.
really it would like, hey, nice to meet you. Have a great day. And the weather's been great. And I want to go back to my chili and Cabernet. And I'd really prefer you just go drink your bud or whatever you're doing. Not that I dislike you, but right, why would we sit and talk for 30, 40 minutes?
Right. Yeah. And like you said, if it's, I mean, the whole point is to make the guest, like, give them the best thing that you can give the
Mm-hmm.
guest, like with what you have, or what I have, as far as what we do and what we can provide. I mean, that's the goal of our show, and to, like, get their stuff out, and people be able to have some, I don't, because I mean, yeah, get to hear something that you wouldn't get to hear otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'll have people like, again, with going back to the, do you hear there's certain questions to ask me? I'm like, well, like, if you want that, like there are I'll point you. I know other people who have podcasts that do that and have all that stuff right there. If you want that, I'll point you to those ones
Right.
happily. And I mean, it's the same thing with hypnosis and stuff. Like if that's I don't like doing that stuff, but I know someone who would be happy to. But I mean, like yeah, but when you're coming on my show, it's
Right.
not gonna be like that. I just need you to talk. I just need you to go, and you get to that different level, and yeah, like get a. I'd be happier to get nuggets out of people than to get someone just to get them on or something like you were saying
Right.
like
Right.
that.
Well,
But
and if it's questioned, it's just a pat answer that they gave 12 days ago on another podcast. It's almost verbatim, right? It's this pat answer. I like, and many times I do more. I do when I'm hosting. I don't when I'm guesting because it's your show. I'll go wherever you want to take me. But I do love the circle back thing. I do make a lot of notes. I'll tell guests usually if you see me, I'm not doing crossword puzzles because those would bore me to death. Because I do when you have an open conversation. I love being open because I have no idea where this is going to go. But all of a sudden, oh shit, I got to go back to that. I'm not going to interrupt you, right? But
yeah,
I want to make sure to go back because that really because intrigued me because I'm a pretty average normal guy. If it's interesting to me and I want to know more, probably most people are going to want to know more too. And so if you have this open-ended conversation where you're free to go, I'm going to make this note and we may never go to this title issue now because this is way more interesting. I think that's better because if you don't do that and you go by this list of 8 questions, well, it's like, okay, I got 9 minutes left and I got 4 more questions and I got to get through this one. Well, if we don't get to number, because I've always looked at, I'm not saying there might not be things I wanted to get to that I felt would
yeah,
be interesting, but I always look at that as if we don't get there, that's a new show someday again. We'll just have you back, right?
yeah, and
I would rather do that than to rush through because what I don't want somebody to go is, dude, I love that show you had with Rusty, but you kind of like that conversation about X, Y, and Z was, I felt like going someplace really interesting, and then you zip right into something else. See, I don't want to do that. If we need to spend the rest of the day on it, then we will, right? If that's where it takes us.
right.
And when we'll just come back and do another one someday and get out the other 3 or 4 things that if you and I felt they were valuable enough and worth talking about, right? So that's
Right.
the way I do it.
And that's easy enough. Then you have those ready to go, and it's like, okay, well, I have everything else in the world, but then I have these 4 things too. So like if I'm kind of set either way.
Yeah, it
I have a
works.
I have a feeling like if we did this, if you and I were doing this, like we probably do that again and just keep talking about it and then have a list that's getting longer and longer
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd have to have a show that would just be like, oh, okay, circling back, and just call it circling back, and it's this
I like that. Yeah,
long
yeah,
long
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I like
And
that. Perfect.
so to circle back,
Great
with your
segue.
with your podcast,
Yes.
so with your podcast, and so how long's been going on now for? Like, is it
Almost. Well, we're quickly approaching 200 episodes. We do one a week.
okay? So
Um,
yeah,
and like I said, we're 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 really been blessed. Um, I think I'm booked right now. I have drops into I think the end of March now. Done.
okay,
Um, or I will. Yeah, I think I do. I think that's right. Close. Um, so we've really expanded out, like I said, out of just the industry, so to speak, and there's just a lot of value, a lot of great guests. We've been really blessed. Very big cross section. As I had mentioned, I am not ready to even drop a name yet because we haven't determined it exactly. I think I have, but that'd be a little premature. But I'm going to do another one with my marketing assistant. We're going to do it together. Uh, that's very industry based only. Um,
cool.
that's
For
and that's
sponsors.
probably going to be a little more a little shorter, as in instead of 30 to 45, 50 minutes, probably 18 to 25 minutes max, probably 80% of the time solo. It's going to be really, kind of Randy is sort of the guy that's been around for a while in this industry. And I'm just going to chat about once a week, probably what we're going to do about something going on in the industry, thought about the industry, an upcoming show, an upcoming trade event, a product, whatever. And that'll be geared strictly to the industry. And I'm going to be real careful not let that one get away from that, only because I'm glad where we went with Building Wins Live, because I love the fact that it's at least 60+%, if not more, probably more like 70% now of the guests are really not my industry related, but it's all related. At the end of the day, it's all related. But I do want to give back to an industry that's been incredibly good to me. And I do want to do some things that I want to go back to what I originally started it to be, but I don't want to change what we've been doing Building Wins, because I like the direction that is. I like the type of guests we have there. So we'll probably eventually have, not saying we'd never have an industry person on Building Wins, because we might, if they bring a real good Building Wins concept, right? I talked about that earlier, as sales wins or health and fitness wins or spiritual wins or personal wins. As long as it's Building Wins and how do we do that together, I think that fits the general theme. But what I could probably safely say is my new podcast will not have a Rex Sykes or a Rusty Diamond, because it's going to be very specific. If and when I do have a guest, which will be only occasionally, it's going to be very industry based only. So, so that'll get me grounded again back to what I originally started to do, because I found myself wandering, happy to have wandered, and don't want to wander back. But I also, rather than changing what's I think is a good concept, I'll just develop another concept, if that makes
There's
sense.
nothing wrong with having multiple podcasts. Then you, with two podcasts as a network, that's a podcast network. It's the Randy Chaffee Podcast Network.
I like that. I need to come up with a good 4-letter word or something. Or what do you use when you have 4 letters or something, 3 letters?
Like an acronym.
Not an acronym. Thank you. I knew it was an A word. Yeah. Acronym. I need to come up with a good acronym. I like that. The Randy Chaffee Broadcasting Network. I'll have to get a good voiceover guy.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, yeah, you can get a good voiceover guy. You can be the voiceover guy if you want to.
Good.
Make it right.
But yeah, that's the next step. So I've done. I used to when I started with this, I did all lives. Thus, Building Wins Live is technically the name.
StreamYard, right?
Yes.
Cool.
And
how you liking that? I'm sorry.
I love StreamYard. We're going to use it for the new podcast as well. I love everything about StreamYard.
Yeah, nothing but good about it.
When I did lives, everybody was live streaming then, right? Millions of people got into live streaming, and most of those millions got off as soon as they could go back to whatever they're doing. But I like the concept. I like the vibe. The problem is, one, if you have technical difficulties, it's a difficulty. And I mean, we're going live in about 37 seconds, and we still can't figure. Remember, we had a little bit of issue before we started getting me on screen, right?
Especially with guests.
Yes, if with guests, or they have a technical issue, or last minute something happens, or I'm traveling, and now you got to try to make sure I got lights and some stuff in a hotel room, and then the internet's not working well, and there's just a lot of issues there. So, and plus, I found, I think you would agree, is 90, well north of 98% of a live show gets watched on replay anyway. I mean, nobody's going to watch me at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Friday. They're working, they're busy, they're whatever. So they'll watch it whenever they watch it anyway. So, and with doing So it allows me to rack and stack some during, and just set in here and do a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, bang them out, boom, 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 1 or 2 days a month, and I've got content. But the other thing is, there's technical difficulties, or all of a sudden you can't make it. Oh, all right, well, I'll send you a couple of dates at work, and we'll just reconnoiter that. Right? It's not world ending. But I've done some lives, and I enjoy doing. Wes and I was together in Cincinnati for a trade show that I'm pretty involved with, and do some talks at, and they asked me to actually have a booth there, and we did some live podcasts from the trade show floor,
How was
which
that?
was fun.
I have two questions. One,
Yeah.
how was that? And two, did you have any Cincinnati chili while you were there? Or
Oh,
have
I
you
always
ever
have
heard
to
of
say,
it?
absolutely. If you can't be anywhere, if you admitted to never having Cincinnati chili, I would lose anybody that I have in the greater Cincinnati area for life. So,
Okay.
Cincinnati chili absolutely has to be. But yeah, it went well. We did four. We had what we did is, and we promoted a lot in the show. Promoted it a lot. We had some specific times set. We're going to do a noon, 2, 4, whatever it was. And then we found that we had people that knew we was doing it, and we didn't have them scheduled to say, hey, we got time. I'll jump on live. We can do one right. Give me 10 minutes. And we'd jump on, and most of them were shorts, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes, right? Just quick, almost man on the streetish, if you will,
Yeah.
and just chatted on the show floor, chatted with people from the show, like the show director and the CEO and publisher of the magazines that run the show, attendees, exhibitors, and that played real well to my audience, especially my my
Yeah.
my 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 rep agency world. It played really well. Um, I enjoy doing those. We almost had some hiccups because, again, at the show floor, don't always have great Wi-Fi in there, right? It's sporadic. Um,
Right.
there was a worry that somebody expressed a worry. So, well, aren't you going to be kind of noisy with the show hubbub going on? I said, that's exactly the point. This
Right.
man in the street would not be without a car going by or a horn honking, right?
Right.
Right? People walking behind you. I enjoy that we're live at the show, and I have no issue when somebody that I knew would clearly see we're broadcasting something, right? But they'd walk
Yeah.
by, and I had no problem saying, "Hey, Billy, how you doing?" Just keep right on going, right? It's that's that's the beauty of that, right? That's
Yeah.
behind the scenes. Here we are, right? So it
Yeah.
was good.
And
I recommend it. I like it. Would I go out of my way to do them at every event I go to? Probably not, and because it is a lot of extra stuff to do, and a lot of trade shows that I'm at, Rusty. Besides having sometimes multiple manufacturers there that I represent, I have a lot of that stuff to be doing, customer touches, and brewskis and beers, and the stuff that you need to do at a trade show.
yeah.
But usually I end up doing a lot of them. I do a talk or two, which takes some time, and um, on some of these trade shows, I've been doing this a long time. Again, I've been blessed to be on a board member of many of these associations that have shows. So you've got that additional, the VIP get together, and you sort of ought to be there with your little board member badge and glad handing, thanking people for being there, which is part of the deal, and
Yeah.
and it should happen. So it's a little hard for me to. I mean, I feel like I can be Superman sometimes, but there is a challenge when your phone keeps going off. You're going, okay, you got 7 minutes to be here, and it's 8 minutes to get there, right? It's um, I, I've learned to back off on a few of those things and say, look, if I don't have at least this amount of time between, then one of them is going to have to be a no. Uh, you know, let's
Yeah.
decide what that is. But I can't finish up a talk that's supposed to go to 9:30 and then have a live podcast down on the show floor at 9:45, because I could get there, assuming I don't be disrespectful with the little Q&A afterwards, and go, there's no more Q&A, and I got to go. that you're right. That's not that's wrong. I would
Right.
never do that. So, but then I got the pressure of, okay, I got a live and Wes is beating me, blowing up my phone. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? I'm coming. I'm running. So, but anyways, to answer your question, I enjoyed it. I I will occasionally enjoy doing some remotes from customer events. That's always fun to do. Quick, you know, 5, 6, 8, 10 minutes here at the somebody's distributor show, and here's the owner, you know, here's the owner Billy Bob of Billy Bob Wholesale, right? And guy looks like he got a great turnout. What do you think? Blah blah blah. Those things are fun to do, but and I think all those things just add to what you're a statement that I love to talk about and believe in is visibility equals opportunity, right?
And it's going great for the Billy Bobs of the world too. They're getting content and everything
Yes.
right there. They're getting something they wouldn't have had otherwise. And like someone's just coming up like, hey, let me give you some content. And content is king
Oh, it is.
now.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just like, here, let me give you this. And
Yep. Exactly. Oh,
so
it's good stuff.
let me give you the Randy podcast. So Randy, where can people find you on in the world, in the internet world,
Yeah.
or any place?
Anywhere. So my my current podcast is Building Wins Live, or just Building Wins. You can go any LinkedIn, Thread, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and either put my name, Randy Chaffee, or Building Wins Live, or just Building Wins. Uh, so what we do, Rusty, is every Friday we drop at 3 o'clock. We drop the vlog version, the video version, uh, at 3, and then we share it again over the weekend. And then on Mondays we drop it to the true traditional podcast platforms, the Spotify and iTunes, Apple, whatever, like 8, 9, 10 of them, whatever. Wes does all that. But and so then we drop those on Monday. But the other advantage, and we promote them pretty heavily. The other advantage, back to what you talked about earlier, of recording versus live, is that now you can promote coming up. Don't forget, coming up on Friday, we're gonna have Rusty on. We're gonna blah blah. You can promo that coming ahead, and I think what we're gonna try to do, and I know with the new one that I'm gonna do, those will all be 98% recorded. Is I like doing I wanted to do some trailers, right? Just using the movie industry, right? Learning from Rex, like little 30-40 second soundbite. Hey, this week Friday it won't be Friday because that's when I do Building Wins. But this week Tuesday, or next week Tuesday, we're going to drop another Let's Chat with Randy. It might be one of the ones we go with. Check it out. We're going to talk about the upcoming NFBA show in Des Moines, Iowa, and maybe just pop on. You can hit thumbnail in like 30 seconds of a little nugget of what I talk about. Right. I like the fact that you can use a trailer up front, and then you can do all the soundbite after, because that's the other thing that we're working on is, as you know, you get so much content. And I found you take an average 30-minute podcast, let's say, if it's a okay one, there's probably 4, 5, 6 nuggets. If it's a great one, you could almost 30. You could have, you could almost every minute there's one, right? And so the beauty there is there's so much content that you don't ever have to go back and redevelop. And now you also, you don't have to redo all this stuff that we just done right here to have something else out there in front of people. You just go find that 30, 40, 50, 60 seconds of a golden nugget, stick it on there. You want to hear the rest of Rusty and Randy? Hit the little button there, right? So, and I'm preaching to the choir with you, but there's so much stuff we can use there that there's years worth of stuff. And it's a benefit to your guests. You can say, look, here's what I'm going to do. You're going to be on. We're going to promo you before and after, and we're going to drop sound bites of your stuff for the next 10 years, dude. Right? We'll have a regular schedule, and we're going to, it's not just a one and done. And so that's some of the other stuff we're working on. So
especially now with, that's the part that I've had trouble with, is getting I don't know what's the nugget. Like I got two in my head of do I really like this? Is this is too much? But now they have AI things that will do it for you.
Mhm.
There's you go and there's one I like to use called Opus.pro, and you go and you can take an up to a 2 hour YouTube link, drop it in there, and like within I don't know, an hour's a long time, it will give you somewhere between 10 and 30 ready to go, clipped out in the right format with captions and stuff on it too,
Wow.
made by AI, like, and it will pick out the parts that seem like it would be the most entertaining or intriguing parts of the podcast because it can tell that somehow. But
Hmm.
it's done pretty well, and
And you
it's
said it's
yeah,
Opus, like OPUS AI?
yeah,
Wow.
Opus.pro.
Dot pro, Opus.pro.
Yeah. And you can do like a few for free, and then you have to use a
Yeah.
different email or else you're just done. But
I like that because it's so much of a time saver. Because let's face it, uh, I don't have the time, and
I
so
don't
I could have
either.
Liz do it. But but to set and just literally listen to me blabbering to somebody and trying to stop and go, oh, that was kind of good, I think. But where did it start? And where, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of time. And like you said, if this thing popped up with, well, here's 15 great ones for you. Maybe we only use maybe two or three. I go, I don't like that at all. I don't
Yep.
want to use that one. And you get rid of it. But I like that. I'm gonna look at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. I like that.
And it's literally like dropping the link, pasting the link, and giving your email address. Is all you have to do, and it
Nice.
emails you them. Yeah, it's because I know. Like if I didn't have this show, if I had to like edit it a whole bunch and like clip out a whole bunch of things and even put on the intro and outro, I do it on the fly because I don't have time for that. Like I would rather go and do 3 or 4 uh, shows,
Hmm.
but then like I don't want to have 3 or 4 I have to edit later on
Right.
to like make sure that everything's okay. And then like all of a sudden I have 30 shows I haven't done and I recorded that I
Right.
need to
Right.
then edit and put together. So just
Awesome.
having
That's good
that,
information.
yeah,
I appreciate that. That's great.
you're welcome. So yeah, if you want to come back on in a few months, it'd be
Love it.
great to have you back on, and
Anytime,
we'll
buddy.
do it again. So yeah,
You
have
got
a
it.
great rest of your day, Randy.
I will. You
Good
too.
talking
Thank you,
to
my
you.
friend.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, that is Randy Chaffee. So you guys give him a follow, a like, whatever. Check out his podcast, Building Wins or Building Wins Live. So thank you everybody for listening here on the Rusty Diamond Podcasting Network. Host Rusty Diamond, and that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.